Somewhere right now, an official is on the phone with someone at Facebook, X, YouTube, deciding whether something you posted or something you were about to see gets to exist. No judge signed off on it. No law was passed. Nobody voted. It has already happened this year in your country or one very close to it. And by the time anyone found out, it was already done. You are being played. You are being played. We all are. And before you think this is theoretical and drama, it happened to me this week. One of my own videos covering exactly this got flagged by TikTok for community guidelines. No specific reason given, just a generic notice and an appeal now sitting in review. I'm not comparing myself to anyone whose story is in this video, but it was just a strange thing to feel even at my current scale while I was in the middle of researching exactly this topic. Every piece of information that you see and you never get to see shapes what you think and eventually who you are. Advertisers do it to sell you things. Political operators do it to get you to vote. Or, this is a real documented tactic, to make you so tired of it all that you stay at home and don't vote. Voter apathy is not an accident. It is a product. It's a tactic. Someone builds it and creates it. An experiment is being run on all of us all the time. And the people running it are rarely the ones being watched. That is exactly backwards, right? The people with power over what you see need to be monitored continually. We need to speak up loudly enough that the people around us understand what is being done to them and what is quietly not being done for them. Before we start, let me be clear about where I stand. I'm not against moderation entirely. Some content genuinely should come down. What I am against is the reading of private messages and the steady erosion of privacy without genuine necessity. And here is something anyone in cybersecurity will tell you over a drink. Encrypted or not, someone can usually read your messages. The question was never whether it was technically possible. The question is, who has permission? Who takes it anyway? And who is watching them? Stick with me to the end because I'm going to give you genuine, practical guidance on what is safe to say, what is not, and how to stay on the right side of all of this. Because anger is exactly when people post things they come to regret. This week, I went really deep into these topics. 2 independent AI research passes scanned thousands of web pages between them, hunting down every credible thread across 12 countries. Everything that survived was fact-checked again directly before it went anywhere near this script. Where something is disputed, I will say so on camera as we go. Here is what I found. What jawboning actually is. There's a name for what is actually happening. It's called jawboning, and it's when a government pressures a company using influence and repeated contact instead of legislation. No statute, no court order, no vote. Just an official calling, emailing, or writing again and again until the company gives in. The company can even say and claim it acted alone because nothing was technically ordered. I found that pattern running through the US, the UK, the EU, India, the Gulf states, Iran, Tanzania, and China. Different governments, different systems, the same underlying method. So, first of all, I'm going to dig into the West. In September 2025, Alphabet finally admitted it in writing. The White House had repeatedly pressured YouTube back in 2021 to pull COVID content that broke no platform rules. Once the pressure had eased, Bongino, Gorka and Bannon were all reinstated. Mark Zuckerberg admitted the same. In his own letter, in his own words, senior Biden officials leaned on his teams for months to censor content, including humor and satire that had done nothing wrong. He called the pressure wrong, and he said he regretted not speaking up sooner. One official pressed Facebook on moderation at least 12 separate times by a federal court's own count. He said he was gravely concerned and accused them of running a shell game. None of that is disputed. What is disputed is whether it counts as coercion legally. And here is the part that should genuinely annoy you. The Supreme Court never answered that question. It threw the case out on a technicality about who was allowed to sue, not on facts. Admitted, documented, never ruled on. The UK ran its own version through the Counter Disinformation Unit. The woman who led it told Parliament her team was in daily, sometimes hourly contact with platforms. Get a load of that. Anything they flagged went straight to the top of the pile. Platforms actioned over 90% of what they were sent. Brussels supplied a third case study. A commissioner wrote to Elon Musk hours before a live interview, threatening the EU's full regulatory toolbox. The commission itself disowned the letter within days. He resigned the following month. 3 governments, 3 legal systems, 1 method every time. No statute, no warrant, no vote. Just contact, repeated until the answer changes. But the pressure turns around. While I was piecing this together, a hacktivist group calling itself LunarisSec fired its own ultimatum at the EU. Drop the chat control proposals, protect end-to-end encryption, publish what you actually do with people's data or else. They claim to have already found exploitable holes in EU systems. Nobody has confirmed they can do what they say. But notice the shape of the move. A government leaned on private companies with no law behind it. Now, a private group is leaning right back on a government the exact same way. India runs a system called Sayog Portal, letting officials issue takedown notices directly to platforms. Xcore took the government to court. In September 2025, the Karnataka High Court sided with the government, ruling that Xcorp, as a foreign company, could not even claim free speech protection under Indian law. Then, in February 2026, India cut the compliance window for takedown orders to 3 hours or lose the legal protection that shields a platform from liability. And in August 2026, after an automated system briefly removed a Facebook post from Prime Minister Modi, a parliamentary panel demanded Zuckerberg apologize within 3 days or risk Meta's safe harbor entirely. The Gulf states give us the cleanest example of jawboning I have found all week. During the 2026 US-Israel-Iran conflict, Meta's own transparency reporting admits that content restricted in the UAE did not violate its community standards. It came down anyway, purely because local law demanded it. Around 375 people were arrested in the UAE for sharing footage. Qatar arrested around 300 more. Read that again. The platform itself said the content broke none of its rules. It came down anyway. Quick pause here. I said at the start that the people with power over what you see need to be monitored continually, and that we need to speak up loudly enough so the people around us actually hear it. So here's the simplest way to do that right now, today. If anything you've heard so far concerned you, do not just sit with it. Send this to one friend, one person who needs to see it. If you're worried about where any of this is heading, tell a friend. That is not a big ask, and it is exactly how something like this stops being invisible. Right, back to it. Iran does not bother jawboning anyone, it just switches the internet off. In June 2025, during the 12-day war, Iran cut national internet access by 97%. Then, from January 2026, it did it again, this time over domestic protests for months. When a new war broke out in late February 2026, the blackout deepened to roughly 1% of normal levels, running 53 consecutive days, the longest shutdown ever recorded. Human rights groups say it was also used to hide the scale of crackdowns on protesters. In Tanzania, during its October 2025 election, the government ordered Meta to restrict a specific activist's Instagram account. Meta confirmed it in December 2025 and noted that refusing could have cost them the platform in that country entirely. And in China, a Bluetooth mesh messaging app called Bitchat, backed by Jack Dorsey, let people message without using the internet at all. The Great Firewall couldn't touch it because there was nothing on the network to block. So regulators went around it and they ordered Apple to remove it from the Chinese App Store instead. So when the network cannot reach an app, the state just reaches for the App Store and removes it. So everything so far that I've mentioned is informal, but formal law exists too, and that is worth knowing by name. In the UK, the Online Safety Act, enforced by Ofcom, with fines up to £18 million or 10% of global turnover. In the EU, the Digital Services Act, fines up to 6% of global turnover. One law now effectively shaping how platforms behave everywhere. In the US, it is split. The federal Takedown Act forces platforms to remove non-consensual intimate images within 48 hours, while states like Texas and Florida ban platforms from moderating by viewpoint at all. And in a strange twist, while I was writing this, Senators Ted Cruz and John Wyden introduced a bipartisan bill this June, genuinely called the Jawbone Act, letting Americans sue officials who pressure platforms into censoring lawful speech. Two senators from opposite parties looked at everything in this video and agreed it is a real problem. That alone should tell you this is not a fringe theory. In Canada, I want to end this part deliberately because it cuts the other way. Canada passed Bill C-9, the Combating Hate Act, properly through Parliament with royal assent in June 2026. That is the opposite of jawboning. A viral claim went round saying the law was being used retroactively, that people were being jailed for old posts. I checked, and that part is not true. The law is not retroactive in Canada. People have been contacted about older posts, but there are no confirmed charges, arrests, or sentences under the new law for speech that was legal when it was made. Real law, real controversy, but the enforcement claims going viral about it are just overstated. Sometimes the overreach story itself is the exaggeration. So, what to say and what not to. I promised you this, a few genuine words of caution, because anger is exactly when people post things that they regret. Know the difference between criticizing and threatening. Criticize governments and institutions as hard as you like. Do not threaten people. Do not call for violence. Willful promotion of hatred is a real offence in several countries, including Canada and the UK. The bar is high. Ordinarily political and religious commentary does not meet it. Deliberately whipping up hatred against an identifiable group can. Check before you share. Several of the Gulf arrests in this video were for sharing footage, not creating it. In some places, forwarding something is legally the same as publishing it. That's just one click. Share, and that could be illegal. And get the facts right before you rage. The Canada story is exactly why. The fastest way to discredit a real concern is to attach it to a fake one. None of these stories are new on their own. What is new is watching the pattern show up at once in a single week from multiple governments and one hacker collective, alongside at least one case where the outrage got ahead of the facts. The formal channels, the ones with votes and statutes attached, are increasingly not where the real decisions get made. Decisions get made in phone calls, 3-hour deadlines, in letters and emails that get quietly disowned. Governments do it to platforms. Platforms sometimes admit it outright. Hacktivists do it back to governments. And sometimes the public does it to itself by sharing an exaggerated version of a real story, but before checking it. I've done it. We've all done it. If you want the fuller picture behind stories like this before they hit the mainstream, that is exactly what raw.natschooler.com is for. Subscribe there and you get it in your inbox, usually just one email on a Thursday, not whenever the algorithm decides to show it to you. And if you want to go further than this, if you want to go further than free content altogether, this is precisely the kind of thinking Monday Influencer exists for. Curated expert insight built for people who want to stay sharp, not just stay informed and become more successful. The link is in the description.